Hello, Vancouver.
Yes! I love it. Sir, how are you doing today?
I am having a ball. I love Vancouver. I love being here. I love these people, and it's just a joy to be back. It's 10 years since I was here when we were doing Expo, so
Wow.
it's so cool to be back.
I kind of want to start this off with something a little personal. I mean, obviously, when you returning here, you have a love for the city. I gotta ask you, if it's like, I don't know, 11 o'clock on a Saturday night, you're walking down the street in Vancouver, you're eating ice cream, and you pass your moderator, and you don't notice him because they're so into your ice cream, what flavor ice cream would you be eating?
Probably sort of chocolate caramel with loads of cream and marshmallows on top.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about. So we saw you last night. And you were walking around. You were, was it a Snickers? Is that what that was? It totally looked like you were eating ice cream. You were focused and gone, and it was the most amazing thing. We're like, we saw this, we were at the after party. We saw the bouncers. They were like,
Sorry.
is that Gollum? We're like, yeah, it was. And you were just focused. It was awesome. Was it a good snack for you? Was it
It's a
a?
lovely snack.
That's what I'm talking about. You need that sometimes.
Oh, that time of night, absolutely.
Now, obviously, you are a part of so many different franchises. I have to know, is there a particular nerdy itch that you have yet to scratch to be a part of?
Well, let's see now. I've never been in Star Trek.
Well,
Quite fancy that.
I think we should absolutely make that happen. Now, the question is, would you want to be a Federation member or some obtuse alien species that you get to bring to life?
Now, I'd like to be Captain Kirk.
Come on, I would listen, we got Bill Shatner here. We can have
I know.
We can figure out something.
Spent some time with him. I love that man. Hey, by the way, have you seen that documentary of his? It's incredible.
Absolutely. Make some noise for that guy. It's so
You-
so
It's called You Can Call Me Bill. If you haven't seen it, it's amazing.
I love it. I love it. You've already got a line of folks that are waiting to ask you a question, but I've got one more thing that I want to throw out. The last time we chatted, you mentioned that there was a project that was very near and dear to you that you were trying to get off the ground, and because of you, I read this for the very first time, and it is Animal Farm. Can you tell us where you are in the production of this?
Do you know, this film is something I've been trying to make for 12 years.
Yes.
And we finally completed the animation on it about 2 months ago.
Come on, y'all, make some noise for that.
It is the most incredibly powerful, pertinent tale of our times. It's eternally relevant, and we've done it in such a way, I think, that will be for the entire family. It'll really speak to audiences young and old alike, because the moral of the story is so strong, and yet it's infused. Our version is infused with a lot of humour as well. So I think when it comes out, please go and see it, because I think you'll really enjoy it. We've got a killer cast, which I can't tell you about yet.
That's enough of a lead-in. I'm all for it. We're going to start on this side, and we're going to bounce back and forth. I'm going to ask for your name and what's your question. Hey, Frank.
I'm Michelle.
Michelle.
And my question is, I love the Batman. I'm so excited for the sequel.
Yes.
How did you approach playing Alfred, especially given this is the most strained his relationship has been with Bruce by far in any live action so far?
I wanted to approach it in a way that when I talked to Matt Reeves about it, we wanted the relationship to be an incredibly emotional one, and that Alfred was, you know, he's just not built. He doesn't have a paternal gene in him, really. He doesn't know how to be a father, and yet that's the job that is going to be most important. I mean, for me, he was always a military man. He trained with the SAS. He was, you know, knew how to. As a fighter, he was quite well respected, but he also then started to work for private military companies, and then to work for kind of like the royal family and people like that. So I wanted him to be someone who was capable and had suffered injuries, obviously, but most importantly, there's a disconnect between being able to be a true parent to someone, and someone that the person who is exactly who Bruce needs, and that gulf was really what the emotional content of that piece was, the father that he could never be.
Brilliantly done. Absolutely. Thank you. Hello.
Hello, Mandy. My name's Tracy.
I understand that you are both directing and starring in The Hunt for Gollum.
That's right, that's right. That's right.
I just wanted to ask, how is that switch between roles where you're in character and then suddenly you're in charge?
You know, I think because Gollum is obviously a character I know inside out, or he knows me inside out. I don't know which of the two it is. But I think if it was another character, say if I was starting a film which I didn't know the character at all, I would find that, and I have done that, and that is difficult. Because being a director, you are obviously fielding 1,000 questions a minute, and you're coming up with stuff, and you're creating moments, and working with the cinematographer, and you know, there's so many things to deal with. But because you know, Gollum I've been living with him for 2 decades, and he's never going to let me go. I think it just makes life a lot easier. So I think hopefully it'll work.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We believe in you, we believe in you. Without question. Hello.
Hi, Andy. My name is Denisa.
Hi, Denise.
What's up?
And I was wondering, in Lord of the Rings, in the scene where Gollum and Smeagol are like battling with each other, as an actor, how did you find it difficult or easy to switch from character to character, and the way their voices kind of differ?
So when we started working on, when Philippa Boyens and Fran Walsh, the writers, and Peter and I, started working on the character, and I had very, strong kind of, when I originated the voice for Gollum, I knew obviously that the Smeagol side of him was, we were going to have to find a separate voice and a separate mentality. So it was, it kind of grew out of this understanding, I suppose, as we were working through the script, that Gollum would be the sort of the visceral, the fighter, kind of the survivor, the one that you could depend on in a way, and that Smeagol would be the slightly sweeter, but more vulnerable side of him. So those characters, over the course of the time that we were working on the movies, and of course, we shot those 3 films all over the course of a year and a half, but coming back to do pickups, and that scene in particular was something that we did later, once Fellowship had been shot. So I'd lived with the character a while. So I was, by then, we'd really worked on the 2 kind of separate sides of his personality, his schizophrenic kind of division, his dissociative behaviour. So it was actually, I was able to shift from one to the other quite easily, and there were takes where we would just do, when it was being filmed, there were takes when we just shot Gollum, and there were takes when we just shot Smeagol, and then there were takes when I was doing both of them and flipping between the 2, and so I think, and that kind of, that was, Peter's brilliant way of shooting it, enabled you as an audience then to sort of start to feel that there were more than one character on the screen. And that was really, it was challenging, but it was really exciting to do.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. To that end, based on your natural optic, which character is the easiest for you to slip into, Gollum or Smeagol?
I mean, I've got quite a low, gravelly voice, really, I suppose. So Gollum was more, Smeagol was much more nasal and upper register, and that was a little harder to reach. When I was
beautiful, though, absolutely beautiful. Hello.
Hey Andy, my name is Arthur.
Hi, Arthur.
I read an article of yours on BBC News back in 2017 about how computers can replace actors in the future. And we've seen that happen quite a bit recently. So I just wanted to know what got you thinking about foreseeing that happen.
Well, it's like any technology. AI obviously is at the forefront of everyone's thinking at the moment in lots of different industries and lots of different worlds. I personally believe that you have to, we have to teach AI in the way that we want to work with it. It's the genie's out of the bottle. It's not going away in any industry. I was talking to an editor last night, an editor friend of mine, and he was talking about using AI for editing movies, in the style of whoever, or what kind of films, a bunch of films that you plug into the computer, and then you say, I want the film cut in this particular way, it's an action movie or whatever. I personally think there's a way of using AI really effectively, which is still at the core derived from human performance. So, for instance, you will always have, I think there need to be rules in place,
Of course.
where the DNA of a character is always decided upon by the actor, the costume designer, or the CG concept designer. So it always comes from a human source. And from that, there may well be moments that you could create, say, for immersive storytelling, where the character can be alive in an AR, an augmented reality, or I'm not talking about necessarily on film, because I think there will always be the human actor at the core of CG characters using performance capture. But I'm talking about in 10 or 20 years' time, when you have immersive storytelling, that you will be able to, actors will be able to create characters that can then go on to live and have their own lives. But if, like children, they're taught well, and that's how we have to approach AI, that we have to be responsible parents and teach it to do good things. And if we don't, and we let it out of control, or we want to cut costs, and therefore, and that goes across the board in all sorts of aspects of filmmaking. If it's all about cost cutting, you'll end up with a very dry, kind of homogenized, uninteresting, inauthentic bunch of stories which are told in a really boring, generic way. So I think it's really down to creators to accept that AI is here and that we can use it, but we have to be the parents in this situation and not let it get out of control.
Make some noise for that, y'all. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you, Andy.
When you talk about craft and you keep it as craft, process is a part of that. And AI becomes a tool, not just an outcome. And I think that's absolutely right.
But I mean, that was the same with performance capture back in the day.
Right.
The acting community did not accept performance capture as acting, and that was, it was insane.
Right.
Because they couldn't be closer to acting. It is pure. You're not even using a costume or makeup or anything. It actually comes from your physicality, your emotional connection to the role, the way that you play the part. It's the choices that you make as an actor. It's all about that. And so there was a great misunderstanding there. And that's changed over the course of say, two decades or so. And now it's a standard industry tool, and everyone accepts that it's a great actor's tool.
And thank you for being a leader to that conversation, because you've done such dynamic work to make that to this.
Hello, Andy.
Hey.
My name is Jaime Carlo, but you can call me Jamie.
Hello, Jamie.
Okay, so I was watching Luther Fallen Sun yesterday. You were pretty menacing and kind of scary at times. Yeah. So I was wondering, what's your favorite live action role besides the boss from 13 Going on 30?
Wow, that's difficult. I mean, look, I've been fortunate to play some great live action roles. I mean, I love playing Ulysses Claw. That was really exciting to do. But I did a film years ago about a personal hero of mine whose name, which many of you will not know, I'm sure, but he was a proto-punk rocker called Ian Jury, and he was an amazing musician and a poet and an artist and an extraordinary human being. He suffered from polio and got over that and became really well known in the punk scene in the late 70s and early 80s. He was in a band called the Blockheads, and they created songs like Hit Me With Your Rhythm Stick and Sex and Drugs and Rock and Roll, and I mean, just they're well known in the UK. Probably not so much here, I don't know. Actually, out of interest, who knows Ian Jury?
That's right.
Okay, so that's a good shout. So anyway, I loved playing him, and we got to know his family very well, and his son and his daughter. Sadly, Ian had passed by the time I played him, but I actually did meet him a couple of times in the long past. And he was just a force of nature, and the songs that he put out were just so creative. And he was a proper artist, and I loved playing him.
Okay, I'm gonna put that on my watch list. Thank you, Andy.
Thank you. Hello.
Hello, Mr. Circus. Hope you're having a very good morning.
My name is Greg Wood.
Awesome. My name is Stefano.
Hi, Stefano.
Hello. My question is, you already mentioned one of my personal favorite characters you've played on screen is Ulysses Claw.
Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah, from Age of Ultron and Black Panther. Like, your villainous role is a very intriguing one. He's such a force to be reckoned with. He's very wild and dangerously unpredictable. You're able to go toe-to-toe with Chadwick Boseman's Black Panther.
Yes.
Which leads me to my question. I was wondering, what was it like being and acting alongside Chadwick Boseman, and what is one thing about him that you've admired, either in his work or personal life?
I mean, God rest his soul. He was an extraordinary human being and a wonderful person, and the generosity that he showed when I worked with him on Black Panther, not only to the entire crew, his respect for everyone and everyone's part in the process of making the film. It was outstanding, and he used to love having a drummer or two on set all the time, and so there was constantly music, which was this kind of pulse that went through every day of shooting, and it was fantastic. It energized everyone, and it made everybody feel really, like they were there to do their jobs and so on and so forth. I remember, I loved working with Chad. He apart from being a brilliant actor, he was also phenomenally good at kickboxing. And I remember once the scene where he actually tracks Ulysses Claw down, and there's the car crash, and then he pulls the Ulysses Claw out of the truck that he's been chasing. I remember arriving on set. It was a night shoot, and I'd just flown in. I was a little bit jet lagged, and the very first time he came for me, he really came at me like lightning. Like, he was a great kickboxer, and he came at me with such force, and I think he broke a rib, one of my ribs on the first take. And I realised we're going to have to do this 20 or 30 times that night, and I couldn't show anybody that I was in an immense amount of pain, and so I had to sort of brazen it out, and it was, and then eventually, I think after about take 4, I had to go, Chad, I'm not being funny, but I think I broke a rib. Can you just do it a little less hard, And he was like, oh man, yeah, sorry, And it was just yeah, and he accommodated, but only just.
Respect.
Thank you so much. Wakanda forever.
Hi, Andy. My name is Francois. We met yesterday.
Hey, Francois.
I know you play a lot of iconic like Gollum, Haddock, etc. What is a character, monster, or creature from literature that you've always wanted to try with CGI they haven't done yet?
Ooh.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, there are lots of stories I want to tell using the technology. I mean, in terms of characters, there is a very interesting character that we've started to develop way back, and that's the character in this movie. His name is Steelskin, but it's based on Rumpelstiltskin, and I think that could be an extraordinary character, and so that is definitely one that I'm working on. That eventually may or may not see the light of day, who knows? But that is a very cool mythological character, and character from fairy tale, which I think could be an extraordinary
Let me
character.
see it. Thanks.
Thank you. Hello.
Hi there. Hi Andy, my name's Griffin.
Hey, Griffin.
I wanted to ask, I'm going to Vancouver Film School, and I'm especially excited for the motion capture component, which is entirely your fault. I wanted to ask, if you had one piece of advice to give to someone passionately wanting to go into the industry, what would you say?
Into the industry or into the motion capture part?
Both, but specifically motion capture.
Okay. Specifically motion capture. I mean, again, sort of going back to what I was saying earlier, there is a grand misunderstanding about what performance capture is. People think it's, people have said to me, so were you actually in New Zealand for Lord of the Rings? And I'm like, yeah. Seriously, there's sort of some weird disconnect, a misunderstanding that I was alone all the time, sort of in another country, on a motion capture stage, creating the character of Gollum. Motion capture is no different to any other type of live action acting, other than, as I was saying earlier, you're not wearing a costume and makeup. You're in effect wearing digital costume and digital makeup, and the rest is what you produce. So a lot of people think it's about sort of pantomiming or making the character larger than life, or having to push the character out there in a theatrical way. But in actual fact, it's the complete and utter opposite. Performance capture. A good example in Planet of the Apes, in the original series of films where they were having to wear prosthetic masks and they had to make facial expressions like pull their faces to actually get the rubber, the thick layers of John Chambers' extraordinary makeup to get them to move. Whereas with performance capture, I just have to, as Caesar, think about what Caesar is feeling and convey that in the close-up. It's as internal as you can imagine. The close-up is the close-up. So I think that is something I'm very keen on when I talk to people about doing performance capture. It's not about overacting or overemphasizing. For sure, you when you're watching your avatar on screen and you learn to be both sort of the puppeteer and the marionette of the avatar, you can. It's like wearing a costume for the first time, and you look at your character. Then it's like saying, well, okay, if I stand if I slightly lead from the chest, because I think my character carries his tension in his left shoulder, you can do all that kind of experimentation, but it's no different to if I was playing a live action role. People say, do you like mocap or live action? And that's a ridiculous question.
Right.
It's a ridiculous question, they're the same thing. So that's what I'd like to get across, that it is no different to any other form of acting.
I will carry that with me. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hello.
Hello, my name is Riley.
Hi, Riley.
Hi. I just wanted to ask you, would you want to do the same stuff you do in motion capture with the animation, but without the motion capture and animation? Like acting in that role, but without the animation tied to it?
Or to sort of to wear prosthetic makeup and say instead of playing Caesar using performance capture technology. No, I'd much rather play Caesar using performance capture technology because, again, you're not encumbered by big layers of rubber. I mean, look, if it was a character like, let's say, I love Colin Farrell's Penguin. I just think it's an extraordinary. That I think I can see the value in him having the physical weight on, that he has to carry and how that prosthetic makeup makes him feel. That I can understand, and I've done that, and I love that way of working too. But you could still play the Penguin and have that as a digital mask. I mean, we're looking at this moment in history where you can play anything using performance capture, and I think that's what I love about it so much. It not only, for any actor, regardless of their sex, whether they're male or female, or whether the colour of their skin, or whatever their makeup is, or size or scale, they can actually play anything. So for me, the freedom, the liberation of having a tool that enables you to transform yourself completely into someone else, using that is so exciting. I would prefer that.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. Can you imagine how long it would take to put on the prosthesis to be Caesar? Like, that would be forever in a day. I mean, you had it full body coverage.
Yeah.
That's like some Sugar House stuff. What did that take you, like 20 hours to do the tattoos on that?
Yeah, for Sugar House Lane. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's the movie. Yeah, that was yeah.
Love it. Hello.
Being here. You've been an actor, director, and producer. You've had such a diverse and extensive career. I was curious what your favorite, your proudest accomplishment is.
Ooh, great question.
Wow. Proudest. I suppose my proudest achievement, I think, is setting up my company, the Imaginarium Studios, with my partner Jonathan Cavendish. Because the reason we wanted to do that was to look at next generation storytelling, how we would be telling stories, not just now, but in, like I say, 10 or 20 or 30 years' time, and how we can use technology to make and to tell stories that can reach people in all sorts of different ways. For instance, Using immersive storytelling for people who are in hospices or suffering from terminal illnesses, who can't move or get to a cinema, or literally, to be able to put on a pair of AR glasses or live in a VR world and have a story that happens all around them. I just think there's something beautiful about that. And so that is, I think it's finding a technology that then led on to the possibility of what we are all capable of doing as storytellers, which isn't necessarily just going to mean going to a cinema or watching streaming films on streamers, but that we will all be able to engage in storytelling that is immersive. I mean, imagine if we could all be not just going back. This is a theatre practitioner named Auguste Boal had this phrase of audience members not just being spectators,
right,
but spectactors, so that everyone is part of the story. And I really look forward to all you guys being in the same movie that an actor is in whilst it's happening, or even you being part of that. So I think that's what I'm excited about is how our storytelling is going to evolve.
Thank you. Hello.
Hello, my name is Klein. I think it was Tracy earlier mentioned you were heading back to Middle Earth with Hunt for Golem. I was wondering, do you have any updates on that? Where are you guys on the whole development production pipeline? I think the 2026 release date's coming pretty fast.
It's not 26. So it was originally going to be December 26. It's going to be December 27. We're right at the beginning of the writing process. We'll be prepping later on this year. The prep takes a good chunk of time, 6, 7 months, 8 months, and then hopefully at some point in the early part of next year we'll be shooting. And so that so it backs into that December 27 release date.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you. Hello.
Hi. Hi, Andy. My name is Connor.
Hi, Connor.
Hi. My question for you is, if we see Null again in the future, either that be the MCU or the Sonyverse, would you be open to voicing the character again?
Of Null?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, Null's awesome. Null's a great character. I mean, it was literally dipping my toe in that last time, So it'd be great. I think it's a force to be reckoned with, that one.
Absolutely. Thank you. Hello.
Hi, Andy. I'm Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi. I've read that when asked if you were influenced by other performances as Gollum, you said you consciously avoid other performances while preparing a role, and you find it a bit of a distraction since Jackson's Lord of the Rings was not the first adaptation made. So how did you prepare for this role exactly as Gollum? Is one of the most complex characters in the trilogy, and he's also hailed as many as one of the greatest movie characters of all time.
Thanks.
The first thing is I wanted to not have Gollum prejudged, and that really crucially at the centre of what that character is about is a conflicted individual that I wanted people to relate to, and so I felt behoven to find a kind of a psychological journey which was going to open the character up to allow people to understand him, not judge him. And as Gandalf says, there is some part that Gollum, he believed, would play that there was a fatalistic aspect to the character that he would in some ways serve to help save Middle-earth. And so if you can look at it in so many different ways. I mean, you could play Gollum as the most mischievous, nasty, evil, snivelling wretch. Well, he is a little bit like that as well, I suppose.
Sometimes.
But sometimes, yeah. But actually, I really wanted to root the character in a kind of a modern day psychological place. And so the notion of addiction was something that I focused on very early on. I started to think that this was a character that was, the power of the ring was so intense, it affected him physically, psychologically, emotionally, mentally, and it really, that was a big root in for me. And it's what's been so interesting in the last 2 decades since Lord of the Rings is the amount of people who I've talked to about that and who have found that that character has in some way been helpful in helping them understand themselves, who have gone through similar journeys of addiction or through dissociative behaviour and so on and so forth. So that was a kind of key route into the character, and then from that, then it was finding a voice that was involuntary and that came out of that kind of physical discomfort and a sense of the throat being constricted from the guilt of killing his cousin, and there were all sorts of things that you build. And I also used, in all honesty, I used other influences, paintings and drawings by Egon Schiele and Francis Bacon and Leonardo da Vinci, and I mean, you build up a whole world of inspiration from lots of different areas. But those are the sort of the main things that I used, I suppose.
Thank you so much.
Now, I do have to kind of bring back the story you told me once. There was a very specific inspiration for the voice of Gollum. If you don't mind sharing, where did that come from?
So, I mean, many of you will have heard this story before, so apologies if you've heard it. But while I was auditioning for the role of Gollum, I was looking for this kind of involuntary action that sort of affected him physically. He is called Gollum because of the way his voice sounds, and so I wanted to find that, again, that kind of constricted kind of thing. And while I was thinking about it, and wildly racking my brains about how to link the emotion and the psychology to the physical and vocal, my cat, Diz, came into my kitchen and started coughing up fur balls. So there he was in front of me, and I was like, "You're a genius. You're going to change the course of my life." And he was there coughing like that, which of course is how eventually the voice became.
I love it. Inspiration is everywhere. Hello.
Hello, my name is Cassia. I'm here with my husband Connor.
Hello, hi.
Speaking of inspiration, we definitely had some Lord of the Rings elements to our wedding, and the Lord of the Rings movie has been such a big staple in our relationship.
Love that.
But we like audiobooks too. It's a really good pastime. So we have a question about the audiobooks.
Sure.
So you did the audiobooks, and we'd like to know more about how HarperCollins approached you with that, because your voice is iconic, so it's now become the definitive way to read the books for us.
Absolutely.
Wow, that's very kind of you. Thank you very much. Well, look, I'll tell you how it started. Because during the pandemic, as we were all feeling, everyone was feeling so isolated and cut off and trapped, and I had this idea that perhaps a way of bringing people together might be to do a reading of The Hobbit online, and I wanted to raise some money for charity, two particular charities, one for the NHS, the National Health Service in the UK, and then also a charity called Best Beginnings, which is for young kids. So I had this idea that I would do this thing called the Hobbitathon. And the Hobbitathon was basically a reading of The Hobbit from beginning to end, all in one sitting, so that parents who've been trapped in their one-bedroom apartments with their kids could maybe just park them for a little bit and let me to be their storyteller for the day. So that's what I did, and HarperCollins allowed me to. They gave me permission to do a live reading of the Hobbitathon, The Hobbit, and. So after that, they came to me and they said, "Hey Andy, we let you do the Hobbitathon thing. Well, we're due to do like some re-recordings of the books. Would you like to do The Hobbit again?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'd love to." And of course, there was a joy of, I don't know if many people heard that, the Hobbitathon. Did anybody, was anybody?
I did.
Listen?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
I
Yeah.
definitely did.
It was an incredible experience actually. I went reading for 12. It was about 11 hours and 50 minutes or something. But I actually went a little bit gaga during the middle of it because you just lose track of where you are. You know, your jaw kind of like is just moving, but your brain's kind of like all over the place. But actually sitting down, I have to say, sitting down and reading, because I ended up doing not only the Hobbit, which took 2 weeks of sitting in front of a microphone and doing, 8 hours a day doing the Hobbit. Then immediately afterwards they asked me if I'd do the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and I was like, oh boy. that was 6 weeks, just me and a microphone every day for 8 hours. And then literally when I finished that, they went, we've got one more for you. And it's the Silmarillion. Are you kidding me? I was always terrified of that book because, as anyone who has read that book knows, it is a trip.
Yes.
It's a trip, and it's not the easiest book in the world to understand, let alone make interesting when you're reading. So that was the challenges got bigger and bigger and bigger, really. And I have to say, I mean, it's going back to my point about acting. Acting can take many different forms, and reading an audiobook is I've got to tell you, no less demanding than being on set, playing a role in a movie, or being on stage for that matter. So it was, I really loved the experience. But so listen to them if you haven't done them yet.
Well, it's a really accessible way to read the books, and thank you for opening up the Silmarillion. That is a hard read.
Thank you. Of course.
Thank you.
I do want to warn the lines. We are within the last 10 minutes. If we do not get to your question, I'm going to invite you, if you are still standing in line, to come to the front of the stage. We're going to do a stage selfie, and you guys get first spots if we don't get to your question. All right? Hello, friend.
Hey there, I'm Jacob.
Hey, Jacob.
Hey, I just a question about that inspiration cat from the Lord of the Rings days. I just wanted to know what the name of the cat was, and if when you told the cast and crew about that inspiration, if there was any funny stories, or if they tried to get him maybe put in the addition of voices section or anything.
I absolutely let everybody know on the crew that it was my cat was named Diz after the great trumpeter Dizzy Gillespie.
That's right.
I'm a massive jazz fan, and he just looked like Diz. He had slightly puffy cheeks, and the way I don't know if you know Dizzy Gillespie, but he's the most phenomenal trumpeter, and I adored him. So it was fitting that this great artist. I basically owe my cat my entire career. And I will not take anything away from that.
Do you always keep cats?
My wife Lauren and I, we have cats now. Delilah and Ted are the latest. Delilah's very sweet, and Ted is enormous and eats all her food. We're big cat people. At some point, I would love a dog, actually, I have to say, but with traveling so much, it's just not easy. It's really not easy.
Cats are more interesting sometimes.
Thank you very, very much. Appreciate it. Hello.
Hi, my name's Jordy.
Hey, man.
Hi. So my question is about the scene in Andor when Kino Lloyd is speaking to the next man whose crew that's coming out, and he seems genuinely happy that this man is going to be released, which is kind of a contrast to how the character was first presented, and I thought that really humanized his character. Was that something that you brought to the role, or was that the direction, or was it just kind of always there?
I mean, Tony Gilroy's writing for that series was impeccable. I mean, he is just a phenomenal director and writer, but Andor was, I think, one of the greatest pieces of writing in the Star Wars universe. I really, really do think it is. But I mean, and this is a great example of it, where you get a character who you think you know, and then goes through this enormous arc over the course of 3 episodes of transformation. So to answer your question, so that the moment you're talking about, it was the moment of his conscience finally, coming back, and him becoming in touch with himself again. And I actually based that character on my wife Lorraine's brother, who sadly is no longer with us. He was a shop steward in a union, a printers union back in the day, and he was sacked for standing up for. He was a very highly principled union man who stood up for workers' rights, and he got sacked and ended up going through a period of post-traumatic stress as a result of being sacked, and ended up crossing a picket line himself, which is something he never ever in a million years thought he would do. And that story for me was like Kino Loy's journey. Someone who was probably someone like that, someone who was good at galvanizing people, bringing people together, but then lost his way somehow, and just was about self-survival. And that's what happened to Lorraine's brother. And then to have that moment of conscience where you realise that you've shut down, you're not yourself, you've been completely isolated and been made the division that's been sown.
Yeah.
We see it all around the world now. That we're living in a world that is all about division and causing division.
Come on now.
And we have to stop it. And that I was passionate about trying to convey that sense that if we do all come together, we can overcome division.
Thank you. I think this will have to be our last question. So again, don't hop out of line. You guys are going to get to come to the front of the stage for a picture. Hello.
Hi. I know I've been beaten to the punch about what inspires the characterization of Gollum. I'm curious to know if you know Shakespeare's The Tempest, the Caliban or Callahan character. Does he give you vibes of Gollum by chance?
Absolutely. I mean, he was always part of the discussion. Caliban is exactly that human being trapped within beast bestial form, and again the sort of he in a way is a prisoner. He's a prisoner too. So he absolutely 100% came up in it was always part of the thinking. There are many other kind of inspirations too. I mean, and Cain and Abel from the Bible, for the Sweetland Eagle fight too. But Caliban, absolutely, yeah.
So I thought, thanks.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Ladies and gentlemen, make some noise for Mr. Andy Serkis. Guys that are in line, come on up here towards the front of the stage. I believe Mark is here. He's our photographer. He's gonna come on out. Hey, Mark! Make some noise for Mark, y'all. Yes. Andy, we're gonna have you